T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. This is Sports and Other Stuff. You've got the right channel. This week, an NFC North Preview. The preseason so far. What did you see? What did we see? What about those rookie QBs? The Field of Dreams game, the 4 Million Club, and a little sports of yesteryear. All right, but first, let's talk about the NFC North. Last year, here's how it went. The Packers were 13-3. The Bears, we forget, made the playoffs at 8-8. Vikings were 7-9, and the Lions, God bless them, were 5-11. T-Dog, start us up. What does the NFC North look like for the 21 season?
Well, J-Boy, it's nice that you brought up the Lions last because even with Dan Campbell, who obviously everyone loved his press conferences, and I think he is a step in the right direction, at least from what Patricia was.
What? You're picking them last again? What?
I know. It's a shocking turn of events. I will say, again, what Dan Campbell's all about is toughness and physicality, and I think that is their strength, particularly on the O-line. I mean, they added Penei Sewell, who we've already talked about Cincinnati probably should have taken, but that's okay. But you add him with Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow at center, they are going to try to bully ball people with DeAndre Swift and with Jamal Williams in the backfield. They're gonna try to pound the rock a lot. Allow Jared Goff to probably do some play action. But I think that's their strength. On the flip side, their pass defense, they were 30th in the league last year in terms of passing yards allowed. They were last in terms of allowing passing touchdowns. They allowed 38 last year. And and then they only had 7 INTs to go along with those 38 touchdowns allowed and only 24 sacks. They drafted Jeff Okudah last year, very high. He supposedly has looked a lot better this year. So obviously, maybe Patricia was that bad for certain people. He made a guy who was talented look bad, which is a pretty impressive thing to do as a coach. But just with that being said, they kind of are building this thing from the ground up. I think they ripped out a lot because Patricia, what he did was kind of tear them down. So they might as well tear it down a little bit even more. So they're on the way up, but they're building. They're 3-14.
Wow. What you say about that there, Lugs?
Well, I'm a little bit more optimistic for them just because of scheduling. I'm giving them 6-11. But they will be better on the offensive line, no doubt about that. Yeah, defense, I don't know, man. That's one of those, you got him? No, you got him. No, I forget it. That kind of a thing. So, yeah, I don't hold out a whole lot of hope for them. And let's be honest, Jared Goff, I mean, he was a good college player. He's not a really good NFL quarterback. He just is too jumpy. You got to be calm back there. You really do. And so, I rank him a little bit below Kirk Cousins. Should I say that?
And there it is, the first Kirk Cousins reference of the preseason.
All right.
So they got the Swiss cheese defense. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's going to be bad, but I do think they will win some games just because there are a number of other teams that are pretty bad. I would say that looking at them as a whole, they have the least chance of any NFL team of making the Super Bowl. That would be my big take or whatever.
Sad. Okay, so I thought, T-Dog, when you said they drafted Jeff Okudah, should they maybe have drafted make that Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High? What do you think? Wouldn't he have been a better choice?
I mean, it's definitely in terms of just the career he went on to have in terms of acting. Yeah, definitely Jeff
pizza guy.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'll stop.
Speaking of a place that is known for pizza, I have the Bears with their deep dish. I have them finishing third in this division. Their strength, I think, is their defensive line. Eddie Goldman opted out last year. He was their nose tackle. And with him coming back, he's going to enhance their run defense and make them, I think, a top 10 unit again. And then you add in Akeem Hicks, who might be a little long in the tooth, but still, when he's healthy, is like a top tier defensive end in terms of like being able to stop the run and generate some pressures and sacks. And Bilal Nichols is a guy who's about to get paid. So that's why, even though Akeem Hicks is looking for some more years, I don't know if the Bears are going to give it to him because they have to play Bilal Nichols. But it's a good problem to have, like having an abundance of good defensive linemen. And again, Khalil Mack is I guess, quote unquote, an outside linebacker, but he essentially acts as a DN. So that's another guy to kind of quasi count as their defensive line in Khalil Mack. So similarly, though, on the opposite side, the reason why I haven't finished in third is I look at their offense has been stuck in neutral since 2013 for the most part, and it mainly comes down to their O-line. And I still don't completely get the Charles Leno move. I know they need to free up some cap space, and I know he was never like a stud at left tackle, but the guy who's supposed to replace him, Tevin Jenkins, their second-round pick, he's been out of training camp this whole time with a back injury. And then their other tackle, Jermaine Ifedi, is out with a hip flexor. I have faith that he'll come back, but I mean, I don't know how good he was to begin with. They signed Jason Peters, but who has played and will probably be a Hall of Famer, but the man was on the street for a reason. He's 39 years old, has injury problems. Right. I think he'll play guard. I hopefully they're not crazy enough to think he could play tackle at 39. I don't know. Maybe he can. He is a physical freak, but because of that, I have them finishing 7-10.
Wait a minute. There's some angry Bears fans at the door here.
Hey, you know what? Last year when we did this, I had them making the playoffs. It's not that I'm a pessimist for the Bears. I had them making the playoffs last year.
What do you say about that, Luggs?
Well, I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm going 8-9. I think they're going to have to start Fields. Dalton can't get away from anybody at this point in his career. And that O-line is a sieve. I'm sorry. They're just going to get people killed. So they need somebody who can move outside. What will determine it for me is if Aggie will build an offense about what a player can do instead of building an offense about what a player can't do. He is stuck with a system. He's got to quit that nonsense. And let's go with the player that puts some excitement in Chicago. Other than, let's be honest. For the past, 8 years at least, it's been a defense that has been the only reason to show up for a Chicago game. If they got a touchdown, great, we're good. But that defense is getting long in the tooth now, and it's time. They need to do some changing, and I think Nagy is gone by Thanksgiving.
To be honest, It's been like this. They haven't had an offense since the 40s, man. Come on.
I was just going to say they've had a pretense of an offense on occasion. Even during the McMahon years, they didn't have a real great offense. They had sweetness, but they didn't have anything balanced. And what happens this year when Allen Robinson goes down? Who's going to come in? Are they going to bring some guy back from 1976 to play on that team?
76? What? 70. They didn't have anybody in 76, dog. They didn't have anybody. Nobody.
I will say, for the most part, accurate. Like I said, I went back to 2013 because in 2013 they were a top 10 offense. It was just, unfortunately, that's when essentially they got rid of Lovey because all his great players on defense, they were long in the tooth and they were horrific on defense. So even the year where they got the act together under Trestman on offense, that defense was a complete and utter dumpster fire. So it didn't even matter that they had Brandon Marshall going off, Alshon exploding. It didn't matter.
But
Jake,
Lugs, you also forgot about Willie Galt, man. Willie Galt.
Oh yeah.
83.
Okay.
Come on, man.
By the way, Tressman, I spotted him on the board of directors of Funk and Wagnalls, and so he's doing dictionaries and encyclopedias now.
Oh, and he's up in the CFL again, isn't he? I think he's up there. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, T-Dog, man. Get us out of this mess.
Speaking of coaches that could look like encyclopedia salesmen, but like a very ornery one, Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings, I have them finishing second in the NFC North. I think their strength is their super sophomore, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen, wide receivers. I mean, what Justin Jefferson did last year still to me is astounding. He had 1,400 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns, broke a lot of post Super Bowl era records in terms of yardage. Adam Thielen is a guy, one of those great picks who was essentially like a free agent that they acquired early in his career and slowly over the years developed and has had at least 4 years of at least 900 yards receiving. And a guy who's kind of under the radar, he's had some injury problems. D.D. Westbrook is like their third receiver. I mean, that's a pretty solid kind of third receiver to have. So, like, I kind of do like their receiver. And Irv Smith, who they've had for like a few years, who's really developing. I think he can emerge as like a very talented tight end. So I like that.
And Rudolph retired, right?
Yes. But I will say this: their weakness, though, still on the offensive line. And sorry, Lugs, I'm not gonna say Kirk Cousins, even though there are some issues with Kirk Cousins that I have now. But it's the O line. Besides Brian O'Neill, that line was so underwhelming last year in pass protection. And I mean, the defense was the worst part of the team last year, but a lot of that was injuries or people opting out. That wasn't because Zimmer forgot how to coach defense. And also they had to replace all their corners last year. So they were starting like a bunch of either rookies or guys that were new to the team. But like the O-line let them down. They allowed 39 sacks last year. I mean, the second round draft pick, Christian Darsow, needs to play good from the jump for Minnesota to even have a shot at the playoffs. I am going to say they make the playoffs. I don't feel great about it, but someone has to be that 7 seed. I have them making the playoffs at 9-8.
All right, welcome to the Kirk Cousins fan club. Here's the president of the local club, Lugs. Come on in. Tell us all about it.
We agree on the finish of the team 9-8. I think, as you said, the receivers, they're the core of the offense. And Dalvin Cook's a pretty good running back.
Yes.
And defensively, they brought in some folks like Daniel Hunter. So he's back after being out 2020, being just busted up, basically.
Yeah.
So I have to say, okay, I'm not a fan of Kirk Cousins and all of that. But if they can give him some time, his short pass game is put together well, and they can do it. I just don't have any faith in them, though. And Zimmer, okay, he's the longest tenured head coach without a ring at this point. So I think he has to do it this year or get the hell out. Bud Grant will walk over and just bitch slap him and call it a day and say, get the hell out, Zimmer. So that's my take on the Vikings for 2021.
So you're saying Bud's going to strap on the headphones again? The Budster?
No, I think Bud will just go over there and say, let's cut the crap, boys.
Yeah, but
get it out of that. Get the heaters off the sideline. Let's go back to shaking and shivering and beating the hell out of some
Remember when Bud came out and flipped that coin in that minus 12-degree weather that time and wearing a golf shirt? I love that guy. But you're also saying you're picking on a man with bad eyes, dude. Do not do that. Zimmer, come on. Give the guy a little love, man. He's got some surgeries.
Hey, he can have a little LASIK and clean that up. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Dr. Beiser's Vision World. Everybody can see. All right.
If you can't see across the field, it's time to do a little something. I mean, come on.
All right. The Vikings.
I will say before going on to the Packers, I will say